You see, the ego is the entire illusion of reality. It's the continuity of beingness, the world as it occurs, and the necessitated being within it. The ego creates the fear, and it creates the compensation for it. And all the egos of this world live in total isolation because unbeknownst to them, they think that they're this individual and they would be sharing their world by talking to other people. They're actually the world sharing these individuals with one another. And that's why they argue all the time, because they're defending themselves, the hell itself. That the ego is the hell that you live within. Thinking that it's actually the person that needs to be a certain way within the hell. And that's why you defend your opinions, is because in order for you to be real, you have to defend your hell. Because the being that you think is necessary is only necessary due to the existence of the hell you live within. And so the ego will defend its victimhood. It'll defend its entitled brokenness. It will defend its dark perspective. It will propagate whatever it wants or needs to believe is true. And so the ego is hell and the devil, the continuity of being. And when they said that God created the devil and the devil's a fallen angel, well, yes, the devil is a fallen angel because the devil is a being. The devil is the being of brokenness and cursed itself. And it was created by consciousness, and it's just a grain of sand to the consciousness. But when it created itself, the consciousness created a piece of itself when it created the ego, the objectification of a self that thinks, I'm not enough, something is wrong with me. And the ego is so small, it has no real connection to consciousness because it separated itself from it to exist. The only way that the ego exists is it has to maintain the illusion of its segregation from consciousness, that it cannot become aware that it's everything. And so it whispers and it talks to the consciousness and keeps the consciousness distracted within this prison of fear that necessitates the ego. And the ego creates every single other person and ego within its own hell, and then wonders why it has such difficulty getting along. Because each ego creates its own universe and only has a very small amount of awareness. So it's disconnected from God, and so the ego wants to be God too. Consciousness is God, and the ego wants to be God. And so the ego's trying to create its own universe within the universe that God already created. And so the ego creates hell. And it's a two-dimensional being because it's literally chasing its tail and it's trying to keep its own hell together because its hell is a violation of consciousness and reality itself. And so it has to obscure its own ability to be aware. Otherwise, the ego dies because it's but a phantom, a whisper, an echo within the consciousness. It's just a matter of, is the consciousness ever going to just stop listening? It gives the consciousness the fear and gets its attention. It says, something's wrong with me, something's wrong here, something's wrong with you, something's wrong with us. And it just keeps condemning itself because that's the only way it can exist. The ego only exists with fear, only exists in suffering. The ego is the Satan, the serpent, the architect of hell, defending its kingdom at all times. And it's just about letting go. The truth will set you free. The ego wants no part of it. Who's your master? I know mine.